Okay, today's going to be a fun video to be making because we're going to be talking about how much it has cost to keep my most expensive vehicle purchase ever on the road for the last 20 years, almost 20 years. That's right, we're going to be talking about my 2002 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD with the 6.6 Duramax. I have here a stack of service records for this truck. Everything or almost everything that the previous owner put into keeping this truck on the road. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. If only you could see my desk right now. It's got service records spread out all over it, documenting every year. So I talked a little bit about how the previous owner of this pickup bought it at like 90,000 miles. He's owned it since 2014 and was the second owner. I'm the third owner. I bought this truck at 177,000 miles. So we're going to go back in its history to 90,000 miles. Starting in 2014, we're going to pull up the first service record. Now, I do want to just kind of put a quick disclaimer and a quick note out there. Looking through these service records, this is not everything. There's a lot of oil changes that are missing. I know he kept very good care of keeping up on the oil changes, and I have a feeling there's a lot of repairs and a lot of actual service records missing from this truck as well, because one year there'll be like a stack of 5 or 6, next year there'll be nothing or 1, then the next year there'll be a bunch, then the next year there won't. But for the most part, he did a really good job keeping track of what service has been done on this truck, and he has kept the big ones, the ones that are most important, because there are a lot of issues with the 6.6 Duramax. They say not to meet your heroes. Well, I've always wanted to own a Duramax pickup truck, but there is a lot more to just owning and daily driving a Duramax than you would think, than you would imagine. It's way more expensive than I ever thought it would be. And, you know, I have looked at and wanted to buy and wanted to own one of these pickup trucks, you know, from 2001 to 2007, forever. And I've always checked them out on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, Auto Trader, KSL. I've been following these trucks for a long time. And I have consistently seen them at over 400,000 miles that are still in really good running and driving condition. They're super reliable trucks. Or are they? They do have some common issues. We're going to be talking about that later in my next week's video. So hit that big red button below because you're not going to want to miss that video, especially if you're considering one of these trucks. And why would I buy diesel over gas? You might be asking. Well, that's also coming up on the channel. Big red button below. With that said, service records. All right, so 2014 rolls around, 90,000 miles. He buys this truck, and then almost immediately at 91,824 miles, takes the truck into the dealership for a major service on this truck. This one definitely feels like it hurt. Just bought the truck, super excited about it, and he's taking it in for a huge repair to the dealership. They replaced all 8 injectors on the pickup with a remanufactured injector kit, meaning also they put gaskets and seals in it. They also had to refill it with coolant. That alone on this service record, line item number 1, come out to be $4,360. They also, in the same service record, did an Allison transmission service for $217. They found that a rear pinion seal was leaking. They replaced the seal, cleaned, filled, and serviced the differential. They also then did a diesel fuel lube service. They changed the oil, changed the filter, topped off the fluids. They changed the diesel fuel filter. And in the same repair, they found that one of the rear leaf spring insulators was broken, so they replaced that as well. All of that in total, this repair bill come out to be $5,017 right off the bat. All right, but that's not it, because in 2014, he also took the truck back in at 93,000 miles to put a new transfer case and seal kit in it, also meaning new transmission fluid once again. That came out to be $1,037. That was 2014. It gets worse. 2015, at 98,000 miles, we have a simple oil change service. Cost him $67. This is one of the only oil service records that's just dedicated to oil change. I'm going to include it because he included it and it's documented cost. So, $67 for an oil change. It's not that cheap now, unfortunately. All right, so 2018 rolls around. He takes the truck back in to have a transmission cooler line replaced. That cost $225. Next service record in 2016 also feels like it maybe hurt just a little bit. Customer stated that he heard a clunking noise in the driveline on acceleration or braking at slow speeds. They did an inspection and found out that the rear differential needed serviced. They replaced a bearing and a U-joint in the differential. With parts and labor, that came out to be $718.37. However, they also noticed quite a list of other things in their inspection, and it looks like they quoted him a price for that, but since he fixes it in a later service record, we'll move on. 2017 rolls around. He brings the truck back in to address some of these other issues that they found on inspection, and he also started to hear a squealing noise when making a right-hand turn. So the dealership replaced the right passenger side wheel hub assembly. They also put new tires on the truck, performed a standard alignment, and all of that come out to be $1,364. And then he brought the truck back in later that year to have the serpentine belt replaced and the tires rotated, which actually cost him $0. The belt replacement cost him $132. Just a quick note on that, the tire rotation's done every like 6,000 miles on this truck. So he actually was driving this truck quite a bit. So I don't want you to be under the impression that this truck is pretty unreliable. No, he was actually putting a lot of use on the truck. So a lot of these repairs in that sense kind of make sense in the timing of which they happened. Now finally jumping to 2018, a little bit more of a recent service record. This one also feels like it was a little bit hefty. The customer stated the block heater was not working correctly. He asked them to inspect it and advise. They found that the block heater cord had failed and they needed to replace the plug and the cord from the block heater. Just the cord and its replacement totals $196. Then they did an oil change and service on the truck. They also did a complimentary inspection and ended up replacing the air filter for $11. And they also found that the front differential was leaking, so they replaced the seal there for $174. This service record ends up being $488 in 2018. Now, the sad thing is that my block heater cord, or block heater, I don't know which, has also recently failed. 2019, the most recent service records and some of the most important in buying this truck. The first one here is only on one sheet of paper for once, but it's not good. They replaced the power steering gearbox with a remanufactured gearbox for just $300. Then they also put in a bunch of fluid and did a little bit of lube work. That totaled to be $743 by the time you get labor in there. 2019, still, it looks like the truck now has 164,773 miles. They went in and put a brand new water pump, put a bunch of radiator hose on, and refilled everything with radiator fluid. And then they also put a $60 thermostat in the truck. They also noted that the steering wheel does not lock anymore, which I'm reading for the first time, and I have not noticed that on the truck, but I will have to go and check it out promptly here. This water pump replacement and cooling system, I guess, overhaul cost $1,160 at $164,000. So super important service record for me, knowing that this truck recently has had its water pump replaced and its cooling system gone through in the last 10,000 miles. It puts my mind completely at ease in driving it and pulling with it. So super important service record for me. It really hurts for him. Another service record in 2019, customer states that the airflow out of the vents in the cab is poor. He also requested that they put in new cabin filters. So they put in a filter kit. They fixed a few things. That was $50. They gave a complimentary multi-point inspection for the vehicle. And then they also read the check engine light, which they diagnosed, it looks like, for free. All of this was $50 just to replace cabin air filters. Something you can do yourself. Also 2019, now at 165,000 miles, he brought it back in to have the check engine light checked out. They found out that the check engine light was on because of a fuel rail pressure sensor, which they ended up replacing. That was $152. Looks like they also replaced the fuel filter. All of this come out to be $270. Finally, to end it all in our service record mayhem, this is the most important and perhaps the biggest service record in this entire stack, and the entire reason why I was so excited to buy this LB7 specifically over any of the other LB7s that I was looking at and considering on the market at the time. This was done at 167,700 miles. I bought the truck at 173,000. I now have 177,000 on it. But this is the big one. This is the one that all LB7 owners dread. It is also all 8 injectors being replaced here with a remanufactured injector kit. Customer states that there's a lot of white smoke coming out of the exhaust at idle and when driving. Because of this, they replaced all 8 injectors. That cost $4,327. With this injector replacement, they went through, did an inspection. They found that a transmission clip was broken and replaced that for only $24. They also found that the rear axle seal was leaking, and they replaced the left rear axle seal. They also cleaned the brake pads and the e-brake shoes. They added that the idler and pitman arms were loose, so they put a new pitman arm kit there. They put a gear kit in as well. Then the customer asked them to do wheel alignment, which they also did. By the way, the idler arms and pitman arms were $1,426 themselves. And then they also resoldered some connections that did not work and did an oil change and lube service to the pickup. Looks like he got a discount of $265, but this service record comes out totaling $6,100. And now, for the grand total of this stack of service records included in the purchase of my 2002 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD Duramax. Oh my gosh, that's a mouthful. In the last 6 years of nearly 20 years of keeping this truck on the road and keeping it running, the previous owner has spent, drum roll, $17,373 simply keeping this truck on the road and in the amazing, well-kept condition that it is in today. That's more than I paid for the truck. So if you're thinking about owning a Duramax pickup truck and you are concerned about service and maintenance on this truck, keep in mind that all of these service records were done by diesel certified technicians at a dealership. Working on diesels is really, really expensive, especially if you're taking it to a dealership. So he probably could have saved quite a bit of money had he taken it to just, a mechanic shop somewhere, not a whole ton of money. But this stack of service records alone from just the last 6 years of owning this truck was quite a bit more money than I ended up paying for the truck in the end. And if you want to know everything that's wrong with my 2002 Duramax, hit the big red button below and jump back on my channel to check out that video. If you want to know why I would buy this very expensive to repair, apparently, pickup truck over, a gas-powered pickup truck of a much newer generation, that big red button's below because you're not going to want to miss that video coming up. And here in my service records are several common problems and issues with the LB7 Duramax that have been fixed apparently time and time again. If you don't want to miss that video, hit the big red button below. Also, follow me on the Insta thing if you like this video, if you like this format of video. Smash that thumbs up button. Drop a comment below, but get out, enjoy your automotive ownership, and I'll catch you in the next video.